Good morning, everyone. Our group was assigned to discuss about Chapter 8, Noli Me Tangere, published in Berlin 1887. But before that, let me introduce first my members. We have Lizelle O. Hadraque, Cecilia Gaco, Ramelin Gabales, Nino Insipido, and yours truly, Julita Barangan. And we will gonna discuss about Chapter 8, Noli Me Tangere, published in Berlin, 1887. So, let's begin. Legendary Santa Claus. Dr. Maximo Viola, Rizal's friend in Bulacan, arrived in Berlin at the height of his despondency and loaned him the needed funds to publish the novel. So si Dr. Maximo Viola is a friend of Dr. Jose Rizal in Bulacan, and siya maoy ni loan og nihatag sa needed nga fund to publish the novel. So he serves as a savior of Dr. Jose Rizal to make the publication of the novel became successful. So siya maoy reason why na publish ang novel ni Dr. Jose Rizal, kay siya maoy ni help og ni salo sa needed nga funds para sa publication sa novel. And later on, we will gonna know more about Dr. Maximo Viola sa atoang discussion. And idea of writing a novel on the Philippines. Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, book which portrays the brutalities of American slave owners and the pathetic conditions of unfortunate Negro slaves. A book that inspired Dr. Jose Rizal to prepare a novel that would depict the miseries of the Filipinos under Spanish rule. So to give you an idea about the book, which is written in 1852 by Harriet Beecher Stowe. So this book is Uncle Tom's Cabin, or Life Among the Lowly, is an anti-slavery novel by American author Harriet Beecher Stowe. Published in 2 volumes in 1852, the novel had a profound effect on attitudes towards African Americans and slavery in the U.S. and is said to have helped by the groundwork for the American Civil War. So the impact of Uncle Tom's Cabin, slavery, and the Civil War. Stowe's candor on the controversial subject of slavery encouraged others to speak out, for further eroding the already precarious relations between northern and southern states and advancing the nation's march toward civil war. So ang kaning diba sa una is ang Black American is slave sila sa mga white American. So kani di ay nga libro, mao ni siya ang nag-inspired ni Dr. Jose Rizal nga mo-write pud siya og writing nga novel nga that would depict the miseries of the Filipinos under Spanish rule. So maoni ang nag-inspired sa iya to write a novel na to awaken the mind of Filipinos na ang enough na ang mga sufferings, enough na ang mga miseries nga ilahang na encounter and brutalities under sa Spanish rule. So kadiri na inspired si Dr. Jose Rizal why ni write siya og novel, no? Para mapakita para ma-expose pod og unsay mga na-experience og mga brutalities and mga sufferings sa mga Filipinos under Spanish rule. So this is a way of Dr. Jose Rizal fight by the means of writing. So this is the way of Dr. Jose Rizal in fighting by writing. Madrid on January 2, 1884. Rizal proposed the writing of a novel about the Philippines approved by Paternos, which is Pedro Maximo and Antonio, Graciano Lopez Haina, Evaristo Aguirre, Eduardo Delete, Julio Lorente, Milicio Figueroa, and Valentin Ventura. So come again, it is Paternos, Pedro, which is Pedro Maximo and Antonio, Graciano Lopez Jaina, Evaristo Aguirre, Eduardo Delete, Julio Lorente, Milicio Figueroa, and Valentin Ventura. So sila maoy ni-approve sa writing ni Dr. Rizal about the Philippines. So, other happenings happened in Madrid on January 2, 1884. Rizal project did not materialize due to compatriots who were expected to collaborate on the novel did not write anything. However, most of them wanted to write on women, wasted their time on gambling or flirting some Spanish senoritas. In the end, Dr. Jose Rizal was distinguished and decided to write the novel alone. So along the way, Dr. Jose Rizal naka-encounter og mga challenges, struggles nga somewhat kanang. So along the way, naka-encounter si Dr. Jose Rizal og challenges and struggles sa iyahang pag-write aning nga novel. So maon ni sila ang compatriots niya is wala mo cooperate, wala mo collaborate para mag-write aning nga novel. And then another is kanang nalulong sila sa gambling or which is sugal, and then na kuan pud sila nadala pud sila sa mga Spanish senyoritas, nahalina sila sa mga Spanish senyoritas. Mao na sila ang mga reason why Rizal project did not materialize.
The book, written in Spanish, is a sweeping and passionate unmasking of the brutality and corruption of Spanish rule in the Philippines. Paris in 1885 completed his studies in the Central University of Madrid and continued writing the novel. While in Germany, Rizal wrote the second half of Noli Me Tangere from time to time, starting February 21, 1887. After he read the novel Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe, he had an inspiration to write his own novel with the same topic to expose Spanish colonial abuse in print. Wrote the last chapter of Nolly in Wilhelmsfield from April to June 1886. Driven by his undying love for his country, Rizal wrote the novel to expose the ills of Philippine society. Maximo Viola was a propagandist, writer, revolutionary leader, and doctor from Bulacan, Philippines. He is known as the best friend of Jose Rizal in Europe. Maximo Viola arrived in Berlin a day before Christmas of 1887. Rizal experienced financial constraints in getting his novel Noli Me Tangere published and considered destroying the manuscript of the book. Viola financed the publication of the first 2,000 copies of the novel in 1887 and was later given the gallery proof and the first published copy of the novel by Rizal. After a Christmas season, Rizal put the finishing touches in his novel. To save printing expenses, he deleted certain passages and chapters of Ilias and Salome. February 21, 1887, the novel was finally finished and ready for printing. They managed to find cheap printing shop, Berliner Buchdruckerei Action Gesellschaft, charging them with only 300 pesos for 2,000 copies of the novel.
Rizal suspected as French spy. In old days of trouble, it was possible to travel from another country without having a passport. This led the German police to suspect as a French spy because Rizal doesn't have any passport to show. However, Viola quickly accomplished Rizal to the Spanish embassy to seek help from Spanish ambassador, but the ambassador failed to keep his promise due to that he had no power to issue the passport. During the printing of Noli, a rare incident happened to Rizal. One morning, the chief of police Berlin paid a sudden visit to Rizal's boarding house and requested to see the latter's passport. Unfortunately, Rizal could not produce a passport, for he had none in those days. It is possible to travel without passport. The police chief then told him to secure a passport within 4 days, otherwise he would be deported. Maximo S. Viola will constantly be remembered as the man who saved Noli Tangere for posterity. More than that, he served the Filipino people by supporting Dr. Jose Rizal in his advocacy for nationalism, which inspired the Philippine Revolution. Being fluent in German language, he explained to the police chief that he was not a French spy, but was a Filipino physician and scientist. The chief was impressed by his explanation and fascinated by his mastery of the German language and personal charisma, so the police chief allowed him to stay freely in Germany. At the expiration of the 4-day ultimatum, Rizal presented himself at the office to the German police chief, apologizing for his failure to obtain a passport and politely asked the latter why he was to be deported when he had not committed any crime. The police chief informed him that he had received intelligence reports that he, Rizal, had made frequent visits to the villages and little towns in the rural areas, thereby arousing the suspicion that he was a French spy, inasmuch as he entered Germany from Paris. At that time, the relations between France and Germany were strained on account of Alsace-Lorraine. Rizal, in fluent German language, explained to the police chief he was not a French spy, but was a Filipino physician and scientist, particularly an ethnologist. He visited the rural areas of the countries he visited to observe the customs and lifestyles of their simple inhabitants. In his letter to Blumentritt, dated March 21, 1887, he said, "I am sending you a book. It is my first book, though I have already written so much before it and received some prize in literary competitions. It is the first impartial and bold book on the life of the Tagalogs. The Filipinos will find it the history of the last 10 years. I hope you will notice how different my descriptions are from those of other writers. The government and the friars will probably attack the work, refuting my arguments, but I trust in the God of truth and in the persons who have actually seen the sufferings at close range. I hope I can answer all the concepts which have been fabricated to malign us." March 29, 1887, Rizal gave Viola the galley proofs of the Noli carefully settled around the pen that he used in writing the novel and a complimentary copy. Rizal, in his token of appreciation and gratitude, gave Viola the original manuscript of Noli carefully rolled around the pen that he used in writing it, with the inscription, "To my dear friend Maximo Viola, the first to read and appreciate my work." The title of the novel, Noli Me Tangere, is a Latin phrase which means "touch me not." It is, however, not originally conceived by Rizal, for he admitted taking it from the Bible. March 5, 1887, Rizal wrote to Felix R. Hidalgo and said, "The words were taken from the Gospel of St. Luke, signify, 'Do not touch me.'" However, Rizal made a mistake. It should be the Gospel of John, chapter 20, verses 13 to 17. Rizal dedicated Noli Me Tangere to the Philippines, to my fatherland. In the novel's dedication, Rizal explains that there was once a type of cancer so terrible that the sufferer could not bear to be touched, and the disease was thus called Noli Me Tangere. Noli Me Tangere is the first novel written by Filipino patriot and national hero Dr. Rizal in 1887 and published in Germany. The storyline goes detailed with the society of the Philippines during Spanish colonial period and features aristocracy behind poverty and abuse of colonialists. In its publication, the novel caused an uproar among Filipino people that also felt Spanish abuse.
For the synopsis of Noli, so the characters are Capitan Tiago or Santiago de los Santos. He is the father of Maria Clara and a friend of Ibarra. He is the only son of a wealthy trader in Malabon. Due to his mother's cruelty, Capitan Tiago did not attain any formal education. He became a servant of a Dominican priest. When the priest and his father died, Capitan Tiago decided to assist in the family business of training before he met his wife Doña Pia Alba, who became from another wealthy family. Because of their consistent devotion to Santa Clara in Ubando, they were blessed with a daughter who shared the same features as Padre Damaso, named Maria Clara. Juan Crisostomo Ibarra y Magsalin or Crisostomo Ibarra, a young and rich Filipino who had just returned after 7 years of studying in Europe. The only son of Don Rafael Ibarra, affianced of Maria Clara. During his adolescence, he spent 7 years studying in Europe. Those years preventing him from knowing what was happening in his country. When he returned to the Philippines, he found his father had died and the corpse was supposedly moved to a Chinese cemetery, but the body ended up in a river. He heard tales of how helpful and kind his father had been and decided to honor the memory of his father by doing as his father did. Damaso Verdolagas, or commonly known as Padre Damaso, a fat Franciscan friar who had been parish priest of 20 years of San Diego, Calamba. For almost 20 years before he was replaced by the much younger Padre Salve, Padre Damaso was known to be friendly with the Ibarra family, so much that Crisostomo was surprised by what the former Coriat had done to Don Rafael. Padre Damaso is described to be a snobbish, ruthless, and judgmental extrovert. He does not control his words when speaking and does not care if the person he is talking to will feel embarrassed and remorseful. He always berates or criticizes other people around him, especially Ibarra. Enraged, Ibarra once almost stabbed the priest after he embarrassed him in front of the people in the sacristy. This made everyone think that he was slain before Ibarra was being issued for arrest. There are also issues that he and Doña Pia had a relationship and also revealed that he is the biological father of Maria Clara. Padre Sibayla, a young Dominican parish priest of Binondo. He was also a teacher of Ibarra and very helpful to Padre Damaso in times of anomalies ahead, and wears golden glasses. Senor Guevara, an elderly, a kind lieutenant of the Guardia Civil. Don Tiburcio de Hispaniada, a bogus Spanish physician lame and handpicked husband of Doña Victorina. Maria Clara, a childhood faithful sweetheart of Crisostomo Ibarra, a good friend and obedient daughter. She symbolizes purity and innocence of a sheltered native woman. She is the daughter of Capitan Tiago and Doña Pia Alba. Doña Pia died while delivering Maria Clara. The poor child grew under the guidance and supervision of Tia Isabel, Capitan Tiago's cousin. So Maria Clara is known to be Ibarra's lover since childhood. When Ibarra was away in Europe, Capitan Tiago sent Maria Clara to the Beatero de Santa Clara, where she developed into a lovely woman under the strict guidance of the religious nuns. Padre Salve, a Franciscan parish priest of San Diego, he replaced Padre Damaso. Pilosopo Tasio, wise old man whose ideas were too advanced for his time, so that people who could not understand him called Tasio the lunatic or Tasio Baliw. Pilosopo Tasio was born into a wealthy Filipino family. His mother let him be formally educated, then abruptly ordered him to stop. She feared Tasio would become too educated and lost his faith and devotion to religion. His mother gave him two choices, either go into the priesthood or stop his education. Tasio chose the latter because he had a girlfriend that time. Soon enough, they married, and after a year, Tasio widowed, while his mother also died. Most of his time was taken up in reading and buying books that all his properties were lost and he became poor. Don Filippo Lino, the 20th mayor and the leader of the liberal faction, described as almost liberal and represents the informal party of the younger, more open-minded generation. Don Melchor, the captain of the Cuadrilleros or town of police. Don Cuadrilleros or town of police. Don Basilio and Don Valentin, former gobernador, senior and prominent citizens. Sisa, formerly a rich girl who married a gambler and became poor. She also the deranged mother of Basilio and Crispin. Narcisa or Sisa is married to the man named Pedro. She depicts how Filipino mothers love their children unquestionably. After days when Crispin was held captive by Mang Tasio, the owner of the sacristy, she was arrested, locked up in the jail. One day later, she was pardoned by the town Alferez and was released. However, when she returned home, Basilio was also gone. When she found Crispin's clothes soaked with blood, she grew lunatic as she continues to find her children. At the end of the novel, Basilio grievously mourns for his mother as he found her dying under the tree. Basilio, tasked to ring the church bells for an Angelus, accused of crimes he did not commit. Crispin, an altar boy and who was as well accused of stealing money from the church. Doña Consolacion, the vulgar mistress of the Spanish. Doña Consolacion, la musa de los guardias civiles y esposa del alférez, once a laundry woman who worked for the town alférez. She became wealthy after marrying a Spanish husband. Despite that they are rivals with Doña Victorina, they are somewhat common. Doña Victorina, the flamboyantly dressed wife of a hand-picked quack doctor. Doña Victorina de los Reyes de Espadaña is the one who pretended to be a mestiza, a Spanish born in the Philippines, and always dreamed of finding a Spanish husband, in which she married Don Tiburcio. She was feared by everyone in the town because of her odd appearance, her ruthless personality, and her first rivalry against Doña Consolacion. It actually came to pass that she did not like Don Tiburcio. She merely forced herself to marry him despite having fallen in love with Capitan Tiago. Elias, distrust human judgmentals, prefers God's justice instead. It prefers a revolution over the reforms. Elias came from the family which the Ibarra clan had oppressed for generations. He grew up in a wealthy family until he discovered something that changed his life forever. Despite that Ibarra's family subjugated his family, he is entirely indebted towards him. Furthermore, Ibarra, who in turn saved Ilyas' life when they tried to kill a crocodile. Ilyas helped him again before Ibarra got arrested by burning his house. Ilyas and Ibarra continued supporting each other until Ilyas sacrificed himself to help him one last time. He was shot by guards, or mistakenly took as Ibarra trying to dive down the river and escape, and slowly died. Pia Alba, a young, beautiful, and spiritual woman, Maria Clara's mother. She is also the wife of Capitan Tiago. She died after giving childbirth to Maria Clara. Gobernador General occupied the second most powerful rank in colonial government, second only to the king, and supported Ibarra against Padre Damaso. Alferez, the lieutenant of Guardia Civil. Alfonso Linares, cousin of Don Tiburcio and grandson of Padre Damaso's brother-in-law.
Okay, let's move on to the Newly Based on Truth, a true story of Philippine condition during the last decades of Spanish rule. The places, the characters, and the situations really existed. The characters were all drawn by Rizal persons who actually existed. Characters in reality. Maria Clara, and so in reality, she is Leonor Rivera. Maria Clara is a term used to represent the ideal Filipina woman because she is demure, religious, and gentle. She is the childhood sweetheart and the fiancée of the main protagonist in Noli Me Tangere, which is Crisostomo Ibarra. Ibarra and Ilyas represented by Rizal himself. Ibarra was an earnest and idealistic young man influenced by his European education. He sought to improve the country as part of this. He believed in the power of education to enact reforms and made efforts to establish a school in San Diego to this end. Ilyas is an outlaw and vagabond revolutionary who resents the power of the Catholic Church and Spanish government have over the Philippines. Tasio and philosopher, so in reality, elder brother of Rizal, which is Pasiano. Tasio and philosopher, short for Anastasio. Anastasio was an old scholar living in San Diego. Thought of as a lunatic due to unorthodox ideas, he became an advisor for several individuals in town. Padre Salve, so in reality, Padre Antonio Piernavieja. Padre Salve was a town curate and successor of Padre Damaso. Possessing a rivalry with the town's alferez, he later orchestrated the downfall of Crisostomo Ibarra, manipulating the townspeople in the process. Capitan Tiago, so in reality, Capitan Hilario Sonico. Capitan Tiago is a Filipino socialite and well-respected member of a country's wealthy elite, close with high-ranking clergy members like Father Salve and Father Damaso. Capitan Tiago is one of the richest property owners in Manila and San Diego. Doña Victorina, so in reality, Doña Agustina Midel. So Doña Victorina was a socialite and friend of Capitan Tiago. She, along with her husband, Don Tiburcio, sought to associate themselves with the influential figures of San Diego in order to gain further social status. Basilio and Crispin were the Crisostomo brothers of Hagonoy. Basilio is the oldest son of Sisa and is one of the young sacristans of San Diego in Jose Rizal's Noli Me Tangere. Despite the treasure Ilyas had pointed out to him, he works hard and with the help of Capitan Tiago. Crispin was a young boy living in San Diego and one of the sacristan of his church alongside his brother Basilio. After being accused of stealing from the church coffers, Crispin was punished by the head sacristan and Padre Salve. Padre Damaso is a typical domineering friar, arrogant, immoral, and anti-Filipino. So Padre Damaso was a brash and arrogant individual. Due to the power afforded to him for being a friar, he acted superior to others and was opposed to native receiving education abroad. Missing chapter of the Noli. So in the original manuscript of the Noli Me Tangere, there was a chapter entitled Ilyas and Salome, which follows chapter 24 in the woods. So this is deleted by Rizal, so it was not included in the printed novel. His reason was definitely economic. By reducing the chapter, it would cost of printing. Rizal's friends praised Danoli. Friends of Rizal hailed the novel, praising it in glowing colors. However, Rizal's enemies condemned it. Rizal wrote to Blumentritt, "The government and the friars will probably attack the work, refuting my statements, but I trust in the God of the truth in the person who have actually seen our sufferings." Blumentritt read Rizal's novels and praised and said, "As we Germans say, written the blood of the heart, and so the heart also speaks." Rizal being an extraordinary person. Dr. Antonio Maria Regidor, a Filipino patriot and lawyer exiled due to his complicity in the Cavite Mutiny of 1872. Avid read Danoli and was very much impressed. That's all. Thank you.